Welcome to a potentially challenging video. This is the kind of video where certain people will look at the title and say, oh, that's clickbait, I'm not watching that. But the reality is, and over the years as I've been making videos, a lot of times what people perceive as clickbait are actually the videos that I care the most about, that I'm the most fascinated and challenged by. And often the most popular videos are the ones that I just very casually make without much thought. This is one that I have a lot of thought in. I have a lot of compassion for this topic. It's very interesting and very fascinating to me, and I feel that my narrative on it is different than what you're going to hear in the mainstream. So let's go ahead and check it out. This is based on a comment that I received on a video called Gay Men with Similar Backgrounds, Negative Relationships with Their Father, Unresolved Trauma. So I made a video in that, and I'm going to read a specific comment, but first I want to say this. On my other channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog, I've made certain videos and the same general reaction happened. Let me give you this example. I've made more than one video in my other channel talking about why is it that it seems Jewish people are good with money? Why is it that Jewish people running banks, studios, why are they so good with money? Well, for me to say that in a video, and I answered it, and it's that ultimately Jewish people were kicked out of wherever they were. They had to be creative and inventive because they were always outcast, and they were not only outcast in their society, but then they had to leave. So they had to find ways to be creative, to manage and handle money. And you still see that. That's still the case. And if you want to just look up banks and find out the owner, if you know Jewish last names, you'll see them in there. You look at who owns movie studios. It's in there. There is an undeniable relationship. And even this, just with movies, it's hard to find any movie that doesn't have someone of Jewish background in it. Even if it's something like I Love You Man, Jason Segel and Paul Rudd and Rashida Jones are all of Jewish descent. And then that's just a few to name in the movie. Those are the main three people, and they're all Jewish. It's hard to find an exception to that. And so I made a video about that, and what happened? People who were not Jewish said, Nick, you shouldn't be stereotyping like that. You shouldn't be generalizing like that. And they got upset with me. What's funny is the Jewish people who watched that same video says, Nick, you're exactly right. And then they went on to expand on and give me more details on why I was right. So the non-Jewish people got offended and upset and didn't want me to generalize, but the Jewish people backed me up. Similar, recently I also made a video on my other channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog, point out the fact to me that's so obvious. Black Americans are generally more patient than the rest of us. And I explained why. I explained how over time they had to be more patient, and that's in order as a survival tactic ultimately in all the discrimination they faced. Whereas now, that's something generally you'll see is that black people are more patient than white people. They've even made a Saturday Night Live skit about it or two that I've already seen. You can imagine what happened. What happened in the comment section? People who were not black got mad at me, and they said, stop generalizing about black people. They're not all that way. Well, that almost sounds racist in itself if they're negating what I was saying, which is a positive trait, and explaining why. But what happened? Black viewers backed me up. They said, yes, Nick, you're right, and then they gave me more details. Okay, I needed to say all that to say the same thing's happening with this concept as I'm talking about. Ultimately, gay men have a shared background. So I've looked at the comments, the video's been up for about a week and a half, and here's what I've seen already happen. People who are not gay, guess what? They don't like the videos. Specifically, they said, stop generalizing. Stop trying to make it seem like gay men are not born that way, because they are. But here's what's funny. Wouldn't the relevant thing be to find out what gay men had to actually say about my video? They backed me up. If you look through the comments, you're going to find that gay men agreed with me and straight men did not. Just like the thing with the Jewish people and the black people in other videos. The people that should be offended or whatever are actually agreeing with me. And it's the people who are outsiders that are saying stop generalizing. Okay? I'm going to show here it is. I'm going to share this comment with you. Again, the video is called Gay Men with Similar Backgrounds, Negative Relationship with Father, Unresolved Trauma. Here's the comment, quote, I have to agree with your theory. I am gay too. and I had a very rough relation with my father. He was emotionally absent while I was in puberty. You know what I mean? There's never been a single situation where my father hugged me, talked with me about my interest. He's been living a single life. I'm pretty sure that he has been loving me in some way, but he couldn't show it. He was immature. He wasn't able to grow a son. And I was pretty disappointed with my dad in general. That poor relation with my dad was even worse than if I had no father at all. I mean, that was some type of emotional rejection that I've sensed from him. And now I'm aware, and I'm pretty sure that the fact that I'm gay as a result of my father's fault. And that's not the only comment that I've received like that. I mean, you can look through the comments, you'll see he's not the only one saying that. And that is important. That's what this video is about. This video is about, yes, I have an unpopular theory about gay men. And that is that no boy is born gay. A boy is conditioned to become that way as he sexualizes the idea of a positive male in his life that he did not receive. Whether it was an abusive father, an absent father, emotionally absent father. Did I already say abusive father? All these daddy issues. And what happens is the boy, as he gets older, sexualizes the idea of having a man like that in his life. And then there are exceptions. I have mentioned too in the video that certain boys are always obese. And when you're obese your whole life as a boy, girls don't look at you the way they would other boys. They see you more of some kind of novelty figure, but they don't see you as a boy. They don't treat you like you're another boy. Even if you got cooties, they won't even give you that. And ultimately, in the desire to be seen as a man, they sexualize men in that same way. These are just a few examples of it, but ultimately, I do not believe that men are born gay. They're conditioned to become that way. And ultimately, I have yet to meet one gay man. I've met lots of gay men in my life. I've yet to meet one gay man who said, you know what? There's no unresolved trauma. There's no daddy issues going on. No, I wasn't morbidly obese as a kid and then suddenly lost weight. No, nothing like that. Nick, everything you said, you're completely wrong. I've lived a nice, normal life, as normal as anyone could have, and I'm still physically attracted to men in a way that you never could be. I've yet to have that happen. And I'm still waiting on it to happen. But ultimately, and I need to say this too, straight men who watched the video, that didn't like the video, had reversed my theory. They said, and I had more than one person say, well, Nick, I didn't have a good relationship with my father either. And then they said all the things that I said that would ultimately cause someone to ultimately start sexualizing men in the absence of the father in a positive way. But see, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that if your father is abusive or absent, or you have unresolved trauma or whatever it is, that that's going to make you gay. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying the people who already are gay have largely that universal shared experience in the same way that men who end up being gay as boys have a lisp, a certain type of lisp that a gay man made a documentary that I've seen on YouTube called Do I Sound Gay? And he interviewed other gay men, and something they all had in common, a shared experience, is they all had a certain lisp because men vocalize differently than women do. And so it almost sounds a little bit like a Southern accent. He even goes to a vocal coach to try to lose the accent. There are certain predictable things that gay men have in common. So it's not that if these things happen to you, you will be gay. No. That's reversing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you are gay, then more than likely you've had this experience. And that's not a coincidence. And therefore, I believe that a boy subconsciously learns to become attracted to men. And he truly is attracted to men. It's not like he's faking it. That's who he's actually attracted to. But it was conditioned, is what I'm saying. So, again, let my theories speak for themselves. And I don't have to be right about this. There's no reason to get angry with me. I'm just a random guy on the internet with a theory that's not popular to begin with. But ultimately, I think what's interesting is test my theory. For gay men, did you not have a traumatic experience that you never got to really deal with? And or you had issues with your father, whether he was absent or abusive or something like that? Because that's the overall pattern that we're seeing. Yes, it's a generalization, but I think it's important to explore that. I think it's challenging to do that because no one wants to generalize. But you know what? I think it's important that we figure this out because, and no one really cared when I talked about it before, but I've seen the same thing with alcoholics, drug addicts as well. I have yet to see a guy say, oh, I love the taste of beer so much, I just can't get enough of it. No. There's a hole right here from something that's missing in his life. It could be something to do with his father. It could be unresolved trauma from his life he never dealt with. But yes, and I get it that certain people like alcohol more and physically could be more addicted to it. But ultimately, it's the trauma that feeds that. And even if we're not talking about alcohol, we could talk about drugs. We could talk about depression. This is what I've found. People who suffer from major depression, people who are addicted to drugs, people who are alcoholics, and yes, people who are gay, have unresolved issues and or a negative relationship with their father. And that's not resolved. And that doesn't mean that you are going to become gay because of it. I'm saying if you are gay, you more than likely had that background. Now, in the comments, I really want to hear from gay people. I don't want to hear from straight people because honestly, you can't prove or disprove this. The only person that can prove it are people who are already gay and say, okay, Nick, you're right about the pattern. That's all I'm looking for here on this. And I appreciate your honesty. This is not a video for straight men. This is a video for men who are gay to maybe come to terms with, wow, he is right, and I still have to forgive my father, or whatever it is. Or maybe it has nothing to do with your father. Maybe you had a sibling that died when you were also a child. They drowned in the pond, and you felt responsible for it, and you never got to sort that out with a counselor or whatever. It could be something like that. It could be something unresolved. But when unresolved trauma happens, as an adult, often it's going to show up in some sort of form like this. That is my theory. I would love to hear from gay men on this. Comment section right here.